Alright, in this video we're going to talk a bit about the transform tools. The transform tools really are just move, rotate, and scale. So I'm just going to make an object, or two, and then we're going to transform these objects a bit. So I right click, let's go to rotate, and I can see my gizmo pop up. Now if the gizmo just doesn't seem big enough, I can use the plus and the minus keys to adjust its size in my view. That way I can get to it a little bit more easily. So as I rotate or move or scale an object, again, I tend to want to use the plus and minus keys to adjust the size of that transform gizmo to make it easier for myself to see it in the view. So I can scale on single axes, I can scale on a pair of axes, or I can scale on all three axes, depending on where I grab that object. The same goes for the rotate tool. So with the rotate, I can click on a single axis to rotate on that single axis. Or if I grab on the circle, the gray circle around the outside, I'll be rotating on the view's flat plane coordinate. Or if I just grab on the inside of that gizmo, I can click and drag and rotate in any and all of the axes at the same time. In the middle of any operation in Max, if I right click, I will cancel what I'm doing. Now, the ability to actually hit the right click while I'm holding down the left button is something that's going to take a little bit of practice. So that's another thing that I would actually spend a bit of time on, just practicing just that. Start doing something in the middle of it, hit the right button to cancel. So I'll switch over to the move tool, and again you can see that I can move on a single axis. Or if I click on any of the transform gizmos that are in between the planar gizmo here, I can move on two axes at a time. If I find a spot where it is sometimes difficult to get to some of those transform handles, I may have to rotate around my view in order to find a way to get to the set of handles or the handle that I actually want to use. So move, rotate, scale, and select. Select is kind of nice at times. As I go to select an object, I can't accidentally move it or rotate it. Once I have it selected, then I can go to my rotate tool or the scale, select, whatever it may be, to actually do the transform that I'm talking about. Now, we're going to do a little bit of real simple animation here. I'm going to turn on auto key, and then I'm just going to change my time slider to a different point in time. Now I'm going to switch to move, and I'm going to drag that object. So you can see it set a key at 0 and a key at the current frame. The key at 0 is where the object started before I moved it. That can actually be challenging and something that I don't want to have happen. So we're going to undo that move. I'm going to turn off auto key, and I'm going to move the object to where I want it to be when I want the animation to start. Then I'll turn on auto key, change to a point in time where I want the object to move, and then we'll move it. But you see, it still created that key at frame 0. Max always tries to create a key at 0 where you want an object to start moving. Now since that's not the case, we're going to move back to frame 30. Then at frame 30, I want the object to start moving here. So I'm going to right click over that time slider and set a position, rotation, and scale key for it at frame 30. When I hit OK, I see a key pops in there. Now I move on to frame 60. Then when I drag my object at frame 60, I don't set a key at frame 0. Now my object only moves between frame 30 and frame 60. Now the other way to do that, we'll go out to frame 60 and we'll do the same thing with the sphere. But I'm just going to move it. So we move the sphere at frame 60, and then I see that that key has popped up at frame 0. What I can do is just select that key at frame 0 and move it to frame 30. It's really the same effect. So the two objects both move from 30 to 60. Same thing with other tools like rotate, and it's set back here at 30. So it starts rotating at 30 and goes out to 60. Now we'll select the sphere and we'll go to the scale tool. And I'll scale it up. So I scaled it up at frame 60. But you see now here at frame 0, there's a scale key. The sphere starts to scale at frame 0. Now that happens because it didn't have a scale key at frame 30. So when we originally right-clicked the time slider with the box selected, we set keys for position, rotation, and scale. So that prevented the box from setting a rotation key back here at frame 0. So all we need to do is still grab that rotation or the scale key and slide it out to the same spot in time as the move key. So now nothing happens until frame 30. The sphere scales up as it moves and the box rotates as it moves. Alright, so there's some pretty basic things about dealing with the transform tools. Again, experiment, experiment, experiment.